Who are they? Who indeed are these? Shunned by society? Forbidden from the walls of the sacred castles? They were the sonorous outcast scions of a doomed civilization. They lived among us. They walked at night. They were the underculture. The underculture. They were the underculture. They were the underculture.
My big fear about the Green New Deal is it's going to be like a giant green screen across the country. If somebody accidentally wears green, they're going to disappear the Green New Deal. Is it possible?
See, I am glad you brought that up because that couldn't be farther from the truth.
It's a green screen, Green New Deal. You're going to disappear if you wear green. St. Patrick's Day, you can have large swaths of the Irish population. Boston, Northeast cities, the people, your constituents disappearing because the Green New Deal is functioning like a green screen.
Okay, yeah, and so I hear your concern, and I do think if we actually both think to ourselves, do we care if people who party hard on St. Patrick's Day were to disappear? I think we can agree that we don't care, that the world would be better without those people who are partying so hard. So even if it were to be a green screen, which it is not, I don't think that would be the worst idea.
Okay, so what I'm gathering is that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez favors mass disappearances of Irish Americans in the Green New Deal.
I have met the enemy, and it is Darkwing Duck, depicted in his cartoon series as living with an adult male lover, Launchpad McQuack, an attack on the molecular structure of Western civilization. Mr. Darkwing, I will remind you that I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the swift and sudden curtailment of civil liberties. I am Gorka. For this reason, I am recommending a full frontal assault on the strong positions of cartoon hegemony. I suggest we drag Launchpad McQuack in for questioning. He is the connective figure. He is the Saul Alinsky of the animated left, known to be active in St. Canard as well as Duckburg, known to have been the male lover not only of Darkwing Duck, but also of Scrooge McDuck, the George Soros of Duckburg.
The torch has been passed to this new generation of baby boomers. My message to them today is to accumulate as much wealth as they possibly can and to give as little of that wealth to others as they so please. You have inherited a great and powerful infrastructure in this country and in this world. It is your duty to make sure that infrastructure crumbles or is severely degraded by the time you enter your overly comfortable retirement years. As the tremendous democratic institutions that have been given to you inevitably collapse, I urge you to blame others. This is our great challenge. This is our great calling.
Let me ask you this. You're on. It seems like you're on. Like you're always on? Is that the way it is? There's no offstage Rip Taylor?
Honey, I'm on so many pills. If you shake me, I rattle. Yes, I'm on. Happy days are here again. They didn't have my music. Usually I come out to Happy Days Are Here
Yeah, I didn't
again.
want to play the music. I asked for it. I said no because I thought maybe that would forestall the stage entrance. I was going to have a real conversation with a person to a person. It's almost like when a squid puts out like a cloud of ink to avoid talking about any issues you might have. It's just like it's a stream of references that you may have real or imaginary beef with.
Speaking of squid, I opened for Judy Garland for 3 years.
That's not the segue doesn't work, man.
She did her own makeup, just like this.
Why does that
eyebrow, lip?
What about Judy Garland you get from the squid? Where does that come from?
The way my mind works is God's own secret mystery. I can't figure myself out.
Now, obviously, you like me, like a lot of athletes who reach the prime of their, you reach the sort of pinnacle of your physiological life cycle.
Yes.
There's some extra pounds that accumulate.
Absolutely. I currently sit at 472 pounds.
That's 400. Wow, that's like a shipment. That's like a shipment of goods to a grocery store.
10% body fat.
You only got 10% body fat.
Yes.
So that's 430 pounds of pure muscle.
Absolutely. You better believe it.
Well, if the plane goes down, we know which one we're eating first.
Andre the Giant and I, we have more in common than than the average fool selling corn or wheat on the side of the street would understand that a giant and a madman would have in common with each other. We have been known to attempt to exercise together. He tried to get me into shape because, let's face it, I am shaped like a Slimer from the Ghostbusters film.
He funny, man. He drinking the food and he throw it up everywhere.
Similar to this, I am also living on food cart in hotel in Paris, in Ljubljana, sometimes in Vienna, and I am haunting, basically sitting on food carts, spinning around through walls and slobber, and the only way to get control of me is with ectoplasm.
And the Ghostbuster movie make me cry.
You cry through Ghostbuster.
The big marshmallow man. He good man. He just too big to fit between buildings.
The reality that you know is the reality that you have been conditioned to understand is real. But when you take a look at it, when you really look at it, when you put your glasses on or when you take them off or when you squint your eyes, in a spiritual sense, what comes into focus is that nothing you know is real. You might say, well, that's not true. I put my hand on the stove and it burns. Why, yes. But the sensation is not there because you aren't there. If you're burning yourself on a stove, there's merely billions of molecules that have decided or been forced to hurt themselves. So you might as well barbecue it. Roast your hand on the stove. It's not real. You might as well cook your hand. If you don't like eating meat, you can throw it to a dog. The dog is not real either.
So Michelle Obama famously, when they go low, you go high.
Yeah.
But you're taking that one step further.
Yeah.
In empty rhetoric, you're saying that you actually just go even higher than high.
That's right. If they're at the top floor, I'm in the attic. If they're on the attic, I'm on the roof. If they're on the roof, I'm in a helicopter. That's what I believe in.
So you just believe physically in being in a higher altitude? Well, then how are you going to compete with Beto O'Rourke? He's standing on tables. He's a tall guy. His teeth are long. He's as tall as he is. The teeth are almost dragging on the floor, and he's standing. The guy's standing. He's standing on big counters in coffee shops to avoid his teeth dragging on the people's feet.
How long can he do that though? That's my guess. How long can he stand on tables or stand on roofs or attics or get in a helicopter? That's the thing he's not planning for. He's actually just trying to stand on things, but I'm trying to elevate myself, hover above things if
metaphorically
possible.
Or in some kind of vehicular matter.
I'm working on some kind of some dark magics, sure.
Absolutely. I was going to say Stephen Hawking believed in alternate universes, and he was about to prove it before they killed him.
The way you say universe, it says, is the same way I see it. There's two S's there. They both deserve to be pronounced.
They both deserve to be pronounced because there's not just one other universes. There could be hundreds and thousands of possible other universes.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Marianne
Williamson. I feel so sad for the people who don't understand these things, Jesse, and I'm so happy. We are on the same page of the same book in the same library.
We're on
the same planet.
When I talk to you, I feel like I'm on the same frame of a paused YouTube video that's on a playlist of what's really happening.
Mm-hmm. I ask my guests to strap on a phallus, an Aristophanean phallus.
Or what if I was going to be...
It might be a bird phallus or a frog phallus. Coax.
But what if I was to be Minerva? Would you have me wear a phallus?
Well, of course, Minerva has a phallus that at the end of it there is a vagina.
Yes.
It is an extended Aristophanean phallus.
You know, when I was a young boy, and you remember this, we would play together, and I would say, I want to cut this penis off and see if there's a vagina underneath. And, of course, Ian would always say, don't do it, because we don't know what's under there.
I said, don't do it.
Yes, and I went,
I said,
why?
Pretend to on stage.
And so we did. And we did that wonderful play, don't you remember, Old Choppers? And it was two men, and everyone thought it was about motorcycles. And we had a huge Hells Angels audience.
You're a respected jurist. That's why I elevated you to Supreme Court. I want to ask you, is there a statute of limitations for fucking a statue? If in your past, if when you had a fundraising trip down to New York City or something, and maybe you climbed up, there was a penthouse, you climbed out on the edge of the ledge there, and maybe there's nobody around, you just slipped it in right in the open gaping mouth of a gargoyle that looks like, from all in cement capacity, it's asking for it. Is that public nudity if the only people watching are far down on the ground, 50 floors down?
I think because you're high up that you extend outside the limits of the law there.
Oh, good, it's good, because I've done a lot of stuff up in penthouses.
Unless, the rats running by probably saw your wing.
He said, hey, have you seen my boom boom room?
Nixon,
oh, yeah, man.
Richard Nixon of Yorba Linda, California, had a boom boom room.
And Nixon could get down. All
Nixon,
right.
so you actually
Nixon could really get down.
Would you characterize these as orgies?
All kinds of orgies, man. We would do everything. Nixon was one of those guys. He would really go for. He was like he was a coke in the butt freak. You see what I mean? He liked to do coke out of people's butts, out of people's rear ends.
I'm guessing Henry Kissinger would have probably.
Kissinger was the first one, volunteering because he was that kind of guy, he was a servant, a public servant. So he'd be the first one to volunteer. He said, hey, Mr. President, do coke out of my asshole. So that's what Nixon was about.
Do you think in some ways that may have prolonged the conflict in Vietnam?
Oh, definitely.
What could be done with the Central Intelligence Agency to make it a force for good, or do you think it should just be disbanded?
All right, okay, you put me in charge of the CIA, so I'm head of the Central Intelligence Agency. Okay, I have unlimited access.
That is the job description.
Unlimited funds.
Well, that's right. There is a black budget. There's Congress approves a budget, and they also get a budget from selling illegal currencies and drugs around the world. I would like to bring that to a stop.
Okay, number one, we're going to change these outfits. Okay. All right, we're going to be looking fly. We're going to be looking good. We're going to be looking snatched, okay?
Okay,
we're getting upgraded weaves.
It's going to look a little bit cooler, just from an aesthetic point of view, a little bit more like an intelligence agent in a movie.
Okay, you going to make me a boss bitch? All my bitches under me going to look like boss bitches too.
Look, I stopped using gay slurs halfway into Barack Obama's presidency. So I understand.
So did
I'm looking at you man to man across this table here at the Four Seasons in Detroit.
Just two guys.
There's a dead wallpaper intern on the floor. There's a couple more. Look, you see how they're trained? They're trained like Dobermans. They don't even flinch. They're not going to.
Hi there.
So what do, Pete, presented with this problem? Because you're an accessory. Whatever happens here, you might be an accessory to it. What did they teach you in the intelligence corps, huh? You must know where some of the bodies are buried.
I guess you would just have to,
It's crab season, Pete. Think fast.
Dump them in the river and hope that the crawdaddies have their way with them.
That's right. I see. If you didn't learn that in the South Bend, you sure as hell learned it in Kabul.
What happens if I go through this window right now?
If you go through this window right now, what happens is you'll start hearing that song from Giorgio Moroder in the 1980s, the one that's like dun 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 dun, and that's like the coolest song I've ever heard. And it's just like this long chase, but it will never end. You'll be running through like an endless series of boxes and what appear to be like futuristic nightmare escapes. So you're free to go. Like I said, you can go. Like there's an infinite layout of places that you can run.
I did it once and it was actually so fun. But
she escaped and came back to me.
Yeah.
Because I like to say this, and this is whether it's somebody I'm trying to
compelled to have a threesome with me, or whether it's like someone that I'm in love with as a partner. If you love someone, let them go. And so I do. I let them go into my vast network of inescapable chambers and puzzle rooms.
This is essential to an understanding of not only ideology, but horseshoe theory between our agreements. We don't need no education. Funds lead to this, steps into this. We don't need no such control and so forth. But it's sometimes it's into this. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. It's this critical. This teacher leave those kids alone. Bam, click, hey, teachers, leave them kids alone, etc. and so forth and so on. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall.
Governor Tarkin was in charge. He was a general in the Death Star.
I see you're getting into character, too.
Yes, and I have a British accent.
I'll just sit here with this space helmet on, a trash can.
Well, we'll just rehearse this one scene. All right, ready?
Are you in character?
Yes.
And so now we present the Darth Vader and Governor, what is it? Tarkin. What a silly name he has.
Darth Vader.
Yes.
The Millennium Falcon. We believe that there's passengers on board, and one of them is Han Solo.
Well, there's a Millennium Falcon, and you've got Han Solo. Well, it sounds like he's alone. That can't be. If he's solo, that's not the one we're looking for.
Well, there's the princess. She won't tell us the secrets.
Yes, a princess. It's goddamn hot in this helmet.
It looks tight.
It is tight, and what you're seeing is, it's cutting off circulation through my outer jowl.
There was once a cabaret act that did tassels in the nature of my own breasts.
They put, there were pasties.
Yes, there were pasties. There were Eleanor's rosies, is what they called them. And it was a very successful act. I saw it more than once.
I've not told anyone this, not even Jane knows this. I've worn a light T-shirt when we've been intimate these last decades, but I have been wearing custom pasties on my, well, let's face it, my nipples.
Yep.
For years, in anticipation of winning the Democratic nomination for president. I have the point was to rip off a shirt and then have these pasties. They're sparkling pasties that shoots numbers.
For those who don't understand, a UBI, it's a urinary basic income.
Yeah, universal basic income.
It's universal basic income. So it's people that work at Universal, MSNBC, Universal.
Exactly.
And we get a basic income. Almost sounds like I'm in favor. I got to swap my support over from Biden or anybody but Bernie, definitely to Andrew Yang.
We want to make sure that everyone in this country is making at least as much as the highest paid MSNBC anchor, which is famously $1,000.
$1,000 a month. Well,
$1,000.
Look, I'm not going to argue with that. If it makes me sound more of a populist, more of the people, somebody should be tuning in and not circling around my house trying to break in and steal all we got inside. I got 5 houses. You know that? I got 5 houses. 3 of them I rent out. There's 3 of them I rent out. There's one of them who's taken over by deer.
The world is a jungle. Okay? The world is a jungle, and there need to be lions.
Now, there are lions. Mm-hmm. As we all know from all jungles and all nature videos, there are lions. There are lion kings. Mm-hmm. There's sometimes that there's a lion that pushes another one over the edge of a cliff, which I've experienced that. Oh, yeah. I was simulating. I was doing some of my Tai Chi where I deliberately mimicked the actions of Disney films like The Lion King on the cliffs of Chautauqua and Pacific Palisades.
I know the area.
Right there between there and Will Rogers State Park. And I was doing and there was I swear to God, there was a scar-like figure. And it turned out it was actually Jeremy Irons who pushed me over the edge of the cliff.
Irons can't be trusted.
Jeremy, you're familiar. You've ran into Jeremy Irons. I haven't trusted him since M. Butterfly. That gender-bending bullshit.
A 17-year ongoing feud with Jeremy Irons. We were reaching for the same sushi loaf at the Gelson's. in the Malibu area. And since then, it's just been downhill.
We have a president who calls other countries shithole countries. Now, shithole countries. Who's the shithole country now? It's us. We are the shithole country out there. We are the ones who are behaving as shithole countries. We need to talk about immigration on this stage. We need to talk about healthcare on this stage. We don't need to talk about how she's astrally projected here. I mean, we've gotten off track at this point.
I agree.
But I am.
I agree. I agree with the senator on all those points, but I'm slightly better.
I agree with Bernie. And that's why I agree with Bernie on all of the points that I made, but I'm slightly younger, I think.
My dear friend, my
my even dearer friend.